Hello, welcome to our first lesson, our first video lesson for Unit 1, all about taxes. And we're going to talk about some important things that we need mathematically to figure out what's going on with taxes and how your money's being spent. So we're going to talk about some fractions, decimals, percents, and converting between the two. So let's get started. We're going to do some examples together, and we're actually going to use these values. We're going to use 27.1 cents and 17.8 cents. And these aren't random. They're not just random numbers that we chose. These are actually the two biggest tax categories. These represent the two biggest categories of spending for the federal taxes. You should have remembered that from the first activity. That is the healthcare and Social Security. So that's where we get those numbers from. So let's just start with fractions. So we want to do a little bit of working around with our fractions. When we have a number that has a decimal point in it, we can't create a fraction with that decimal point. So we have to move some things around. So first, we all know when we're making a fraction, we're going to write the numerator, which in our case is the part, the piece that we're using, the piece of a whole. So that's our 27.1 cents. We write that over the denominator. When we're talking about things like money and percents, our denominator is always going to be 100 because 100 is the whole amount. 100%, we're talking about cents, so 100 cents per dollar. So again, like I just said, the numerator and the denominator have to both be integers, and integer is a whole number, so it can't have a decimal. So in order to eliminate that decimal in 27.1, we're going to multiply the numerator and the denominator by 10. We're multiplying it by 10 because if you look at this, this is the tenths place. That decimal is a tenths place. And so when we multiply by 10, it's going to get rid of that decimal for us. So we would put 27.1 cents in the calculator over 100 times 10 over 10. And that will pop out 271 over 1,000. Now, we always want to ask ourselves, can we reduce a fraction? Can we reduce this fraction? Not this one, because 271 is a prime number. There's nothing that goes into it that also goes into 1,000. There is going to be a video linked that shows you how to use your calculator to reduce fractions so that you're not, making some large factor tree or trying to do mental math. So make sure you click on that video. It will come after this video so that you can see how to do that on your calculator. So let's do another example. So let's look at our Social Security spending, 17.8 cents. So we have that decimal, we have a tenths place, so we want to multiply that fraction by 10 over 10. That gives us 178 over 1,000. Now that number can be reduced, and a hint for knowing is that we have both 178 and 1,000 can both be divided by 2. So you would put that in your calculator. Again, you want to watch that video, or you can come talk to me or Mr. M and we can show you. So when you put that in your calculator and you reduce it, you are going to wind up with 89 over 500. Okay, so that's the first piece, is just making sure that your fraction has integers in the numerator and the denominator without decimals. Okay, so then converting a fraction to a decimal. This is honestly the most simple thing you're going to learn all year long. You've already learned this. I know you have, but let's just reinforce that. So all we need to do is divide the numerator by the denominator. It's because a fraction bar is the same as a division. We're just saying this is a division problem. So when you put 271 over 1,000 in your calculator, you get your decimal. So then when you put 178 over 1,000 into your calculator, you divide those, you will get 0.178. So just use your calculator for that. Again, click on the calculator video because the video that I'm uploading will show you how to convert in your calculator between the decimal and the fraction. So you can just go back and forth. So then lastly, we have converting either a fraction or a decimal into a percent. This is a really, really important skill, and you're going to have to use this throughout this whole unit. So make sure you're paying attention. Make sure you're checking in with us if you're struggling to figure out how to do this. So let's take our fraction again, 271 over 1,000. In order to use your calculator to convert this into a percent, we need to multiply that whole fraction by 100. Okay. So when you put that in your calculator, you multiply it by 100, you wind up with 27.1. That's your percent. Okay. You could also take your decimal that we already figured out, 0.271, multiply that by 100, and you would get back to 27.1. Okay. So then when we're doing the 17.8 over 100, plug that into your calculator, you're going to get 178 over 10. Once you put that in, you divide that, you wind up with 0.178. So I have one other tip to show you for turning a percent into a decimal or back and forth. And this I think is a little bit easier, and I don't need a calculator with me when I do it. You can just take that number. We'll do the 27.1. So say I said, okay, I have 27.1%. Turn that into a decimal, convert that into a decimal. All I have to do is take that decimal point and move it to the left 2 times. That's hundredths place. So I'm moving it to the left 2 times, and then I can rewrite my decimal as 0.271. And then on the flip side, let's do this with the 0.178. On the flip side, if I have 0.178 and I want to know what that is as a percent, I'm going to take that decimal and I'm going to move it to the right 2 times. That takes me to 17.8%. Okay, that's it. That is the lesson. Let's go ahead and do one of these practice problems together. And then I want you to pause the video and come back to the video, and I will fill in the answer key for you. But I want you to try to do some of these problems on your own. Let's do the first one together. So we have a description. 7 out of 20 students in the class had income tax withheld from their paychecks. I'm just going to take the part, which is 7, put my fraction bar over the whole, which is 20. So then in order to convert that fraction to a decimal, I'm going to just put that in my calculator. So go ahead and put 7 divided by 20 in your calculator. That's going to get you 0.35. Okay. Now to convert that into a percent, I can either do 0.35 times 100. That's going to give me 35%. Or I can take that decimal place, move it over twice. Again, 35%. So go ahead, pause the video, complete the rest of the problems, and then come back to check your answers. I also want you to try number 2. Number 2 gets you thinking about how you would decide which way to express a given quantity. So the fraction, the decimal, the percent, they all represent the same number. Why would you choose to use a fraction? Why would you choose to use a percent? So think about that. Think about some instances in which one might be easier to do than the other. So pause your video and come back and I'll have the answer key there for you. Okay, so I hope you did this on your own. Came back to check the answer key. Here's what we have. For problem 2, you all probably have some different answers. I can give an answer to, I would say we like to see fractions if we're talking about ratios. So for example, miles per hour. That's good as a fraction. Decimals are really helpful for things such as money, which is what we're talking about all year long. So we're going to see a lot of decimals, percents. Those can help you for things like clearance sales. You might see like 50% off, etc. So you might have some different answers there, but those are just some of my own examples. All right, way to go. You finished your first video lesson. Go ahead, go back to your student activity packet. If you want to watch the calculator video, that's in there too. And then you can move on to the next part.